Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the OSR Tabletop live stream with DM Bluddworth. And today, and I'll give people some time to pop in if they wish to. Today, I was kind of inspired to talk a little bit about some of the games that either I or other people might have played back in the 70s and 80s. These games have not seen a revival or a reboot or any amount of real love given to them since they were first released. And there's some really good games out there that have kind of fallen on the wayside and have been forgotten. But in my opinion, many of them really don't deserve to have fallen out of our consciousness, out of our use, and out of the potential for either a reboot or a modernization or just a reconfiguration in some cases, a second edition. So I thought to start because I was having a conversation when I was doing my my shelfies, and a visitor to my channel, Jake Scott Garibay, actually pointed out, he was like, "Wow, the James Bond 007 game system." He says that's a really good game, or something along those lines, and it got me to thinking that. I make the argument that the OSR is not just Dungeons and Dragons derivative games, that, the old school role-playing games are, any of those games that were released prior to 1990. I use that working time frame. So anything from 71 through 1990, I consider to be old school. And and so whether it's old school Renaissance, where someone makes a modern interpretation of that older game, I've seen it with Gangbusters. Gangbusters BX is a modern interpretation of Gangbusters from TSR. There's Wild Tales or something along those lines. I have to look it back up again, which was a kind of a reboot, both by Mark A. Hunt, and so both of those games are, really clones or retro clones of older TSR games that are not Dungeons and Dragons. So getting back to James Bond, I wanted to talk a little bit about this game and why I feel that. That this game does deserve, some more attention, some love to it, and it is actually not that expensive to pick up what I'm going to show you now, where you can get many of these, the rule book, and then the accessories book, or the supplement book, and then the individual adventures. Almost every one of them for less than $30, pretty much across the board. So it would only expand beyond $100 or $150 if you picked up everything. But for $40 or $50, you can actually get the box set plus the expansion. So let me talk a little bit about that. If you want to jump in on this conversation, I put the link where you just hit the link and then you can join in on the conversation. Or if you want to just leave your comments in the comments section, you're welcome to do so as well. And so I am going to just hit over here on our banners, and I'm going to give you the premise of this particular show. And depending on the amount of demand, if anyone has suggestions of other games they'd like for me to take a look at this way, I'll make a return to this kind of a feature for the channel. So OSR RPGs that have been left behind but deserve to be rebooted or at least get some modern love. All right, and my featured game for this is James Bond by Victory Games. I looked on the internet to see if there's anything. There's still a president of Victory Games, but I haven't been able to see where they have anything new. So if you can point to me in that direction in the comments section, I'll definitely take a look at it. But from what it looks like, nothing has been added to James Bond 007 since the 1980s. So it's basically been one of those games that has been left behind. So let's start taking a look at it. So here I have the box set, and like I said, I probably got this for under $30, the box set, and it was a complete box set in decent condition. So the primary is, I'm just going to move my iPad over here. So the core rules is it comes in one book. So the basic game is here, and it covers everything. It covers everything you need to create a character, to even generate an adventure, and create your NPCs and everything, to develop a whole story, and then run the game. So everything is right here in one book. And like I said, you can get this for like under $25 or $30, including in the box set as well. There's also the Q manual. So this is all equipment and vehicles, cars, planes, boats, and then all kinds of firearms and other types of weaponry that you can use to continue fleshing out what you're looking to do, plus gadgets like secret gadgets and those kinds of things as well. So combined up, like I said, you can get all of this for under $40 if you're lucky, or certainly under 50 without a doubt. They come with character sheets, and the character sheets, what I like about it is that it does put the multiplication table for your primary chance, and then the ease factors that are adjusted to it right there. So every player on their character sheet has exactly what they need to roll for their skills, and then all they have to be told is what the ease factor is at that point. So very usable and utilitarian. So I like that. This was a little flyer that came in the book. So Victory Games, I believe, is a division of Avalon Hill, and Avalon Hill might actually now belong to Hasbro. So maybe all of this is, unfortunately, I'm going to say in the hands of Hasbro, because Hasbro likes to put things on the shelf and just leaves them there. They don't like to revitalize any games, but they don't want anything to get in the way of their other primary properties, such as Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons. So if they do in fact hold the licensing for James Bond 007, I don't see that they're going to do anything at all with it. So here I have so here's basically another flyer, and it shows you some of the adventure packs and everything like that came with it. And there was one for every one of the movies, going all the way up to the movies that I believe came out as late as the 90s. So nothing more modern than that. Like A View to the Kill, A View to the Kill was maybe one of the last ones that they actually did. But let's talk about the system a little bit, because there's some unique aspects of the system that I recall from back then, and I think it's important to point out that this is one of the first games that I'm aware of that had like a hero point system, where you could do extraordinary things and get like re-rolls and stuff like that by expending a small amount of hero points that you had a pool of, right? So you might have 1, 2, 3 hero points, and those would allow you to do those very extraordinary things like you would see in a James Bond movie. So that was one thing. The other thing that I noticed about this system was, yes, it's a D100 system, but it also had it had a quality of the roll that actually mattered. So if you had a skill that had, let's say, a 70 rating, then your critical success was adjusted based on your total amount of your skill level, and the quality of your rolls actually mattered in in the application of those skills or the use of those weapons. So that was something. And looking at the weapons chart, I actually started to see that if you were highly skilled and then you had a high quality roll, you were able to produce instant kills with certain weapon level, damage levels, and then based on your quality of rolls. So it was a critical system that was really quite fatal. And so that was something that stood out for me. And looking back at it now, it's something that stands out as well, as something that you don't typically see in modern RPGs now. All right, we got our first comment. So, hello, Swirl. How's it going? I know this was another one of those short lead-ins to the video. I think I only left about or live stream. I think I only left about an hour and a half or slightly longer than that notice before jumping in on here. Once in a while, I like to do these live streams if I just have something come to mind, and I have an hour or so to actually live stream, and also it gets me the full use of my of my account that I'm paying for StreamYard. So the more often I use it, the better it is for my expenses. It at least functions more for my use. But Swirl, if you want to jump in, I put the invite up top, and you can always click on that and jump on in if you wanted to talk about either James Bond 007 or possibly any other games from the, I'm going to go back, just 70s and 80s for now, and then I will move on to, the 90s, and to 2000s and so, and so on. So, at this point, we're just going to focus today on James Bond 007 or any other game from that same era that you want to talk about. Hello, the Red Room. How's it going? I know we all had a very exciting week last week, and so that was good to see all of that going on. And I know that you just released an addendum or a revision of or an addition to Wretched Space, which came out in PDF. The improvement or expansion came out just yesterday, I believe, for Wretched Space. So that's another, modern game for you to take a look at, but it's still OSR. It's still kind of based on those principles of gaming and a lot of the attributes and mechanics of old school games. So that's what makes that an OSR game, even though it is not a D&D game. So once again, proves my premise or my stance on the fact that OSR does cover other types of games, other genres of games than just Dungeons and Dragons or fantasy. Yep, good seeing you too, Swirl. And we have not yet released, but it's almost ready. Oh, okay. I thought it was out already. All right. So yeah, so once it takes release, I'll have to take a look at it and put it into my physical copy. And then later on in a while from now, maybe I'll pick up a new physical copy that includes all of that. So you just let me know when that's ready. And then I'll take my current physical copy and probably do a giveaway with that. So as I clear out some of my older older RPG stuff, as I keep on reworking my shelves behind me to expand. Okay. Yeah, you're always welcome, but I understand if you're a little bit under the weather, I can definitely understand that. So let me talk a little bit more about James Bond 007. So, like I said, it's one volume. I'm really impressed with the quality of this book that I got when I did purchase this, because it was super you know like very inexpensive, and definitely under $30 for the entire box set that I picked up. I mean, I got the box set without the dice. Obviously, the system uses 2d10s and 2d6s. That's all you need for this game system. And getting back to the conversation I was having with J. Scott Garibay and some of the other things that he was talking about in some of his videos about going to conventions and such, and just again, based on my own experience, I can imagine like the next convention I'm probably going to go through is Rising Phoenix in April, and that's in Massachusetts, so it's not that far away from me. I could technically go there in the morning, come back in the evening, and then go back and forth. Although I'm not too crazy about driving 5 hours a day just to go back and forth. I'll probably stay at least 1 or 2 nights to make it a little bit more beneficial. But if you go to a small con or even a medium con, and you run a game like this, I guarantee you're going to fill your table. All right. People are going to be like, "Oh, wait a second, I remember that game," or a modern player that's never heard of the game before. They'll say, "Wow, I didn't even know there was a James Bond. There was a James Bond game," and so they may be inclined to jump in on it. And although this game is I think, and I would argue, it's more geared towards a game master plus just one player, so that player is playing the role of a 00 agent, and unless the other players wanted to play a support role, as lesser agents supporting the main character. That's one way I guess you could do it. But for the most part, anytime that we played this back in the day, it was just one GM and just one of us playing. Usually Adam was my GM for James Bond, and I was his player for it. And then he ran totally separate campaigns with the other two members and sometimes three members of our group. So it is that kind of game where everyone wants to be the 00 agent. Everyone wants to be the star of the action. So it's unlike your typical role-playing games where it's much more of a group dynamic that's being the driver of the gaming experience. Yes, eBay still does. Every once in a while, you can find those little gems, and yes, at $30. It was about $30, and I just checked this morning, and they're still about that. You just have to be wary of like shipping. Sometimes the shipping, especially if it's in Europe or whatever, then the shipping becomes more expensive than the books themselves. But for the most part, I'd say virtually everything that I looked at this morning, including the box sets, complete box sets and everything, were under $40. And you can get the core book and the in a box set, and then the one the one supplement. Just this ran something like $20 or $25 combined. You're getting both of them for about $50, $50 US. And if you just get just the books alone, then it's going to be obviously a little bit less than that. Now, again, I got the box set without the dice. Sometimes when you throw the dice in, and then that'll push the box set up to around 50 by itself or so. But yeah, you can get lucky and find certain bargains on eBay, and and it's a decent place to go. Sometimes you see rip-offs too, so you got to be a little bit wary of it. But for the most part, I think of all the things that I've bought on eBay, I've probably only had two that I was disappointed in, let's say, and one that I felt was an absolute rip-off. Now, I don't know if the person really intended for it, like if they were even aware of it, but I ended up getting the Blackmore supplement for OD&D, and it didn't have a section in there. Now, I don't know if the person even thought, and I stupidly, when I first got the book, I was like, all right, it goes right into my collection, and I never actually went through it page by page by page. And that was, when I did that, I was like, wow, there's like 10 missing pages in this thing. So I ended up having to, buy it again. Luckily, I got it for kind of cheap too, for like $60 or so, which was cheap for that supplement. But yeah, you have to be a little bit wary when you look at things. Definitely read the descriptions and everything. But if you can get just the book for under $25, that's still a decent buy, because it's a fully contained RPG in just one book. So here, with just this one book, you have the game system, you have the you have all of the equipment that you need, you have villains that you can deal with, you have character creation, obviously, and you have ideas for creating adventures or missions, if you want to call it that, for this game. And so it is definitely it's definitely a bargain to get a game system that is self-contained in one volume. That's one of the things I really love about older game systems, for the most part, and OSR in particular. They like to keep everything in one volume. Yes. Yeah, definitely read those descriptions, and and don't always just trust the pictures either, because sometimes the pictures are a little bit off. I ran on that with Amazon one time. I bought my DMG, and it came with the different cover. Like I didn't really mind, but I was like, this isn't the cover. Like I was looking to get all of the orange spines, and this one came without it. And luckily the seller was like, oh, we apologize, and he completely reimbursed me and told me just keep the book. So I got my AD&D first edition for free, basically. And I made sure to buy something from that seller later on. I believe I got my Unearthed Arcana from that same seller, so it was kind of a win-win for the two of us. So yeah, every once in a while you come across people in any of these things, in the third-party markets, and the secondhand markets and stuff like that they're pretty fair. I actually just had a sale that I sent out today. I wasn't aware of it 3 days ago when it was purchased. I was like, holy crap, I got to send this thing out. And hopefully it goes out there fine, and I have another happy customer for an item. So eBay, just like any other place. I mean, you have to be somewhat careful, but overall, like 98% of my experience has been positive with it. So let's see. Let's get back to our topic at hand. So some of the other things I really like about this system is that number one, it has a section on locations, and there are other. The way that they deal with locations, you can get any world location. So here is, let's see, what am I looking at? So this is Tokyo. All right, so this is Tokyo here, and they have like a downtown map of Tokyo, and basically the major, features, and it gives you a little breakdown of, the country, its brief history, its demographics, its other aspects of it, its form of government, all of the stuff that a spy would actually want. And believe it or not, you can actually go to the Central Intelligence Agency website, and you could pull up this kind of information. That's still public access information, but it's compiled in such a way that you can pick any place in the world and make that the feature of your mission for James Bond 007. And so you'll have all of that information that tends to be a couple years old. I think that's by design. And then you can get a Google map of, the city as well, and use portions of it, obviously, and you can utilize that as well. And then you can just convert, because obviously the technology, the weapons and everything like this, and the vehicles and such are all going to be up to about 1990s level of technology and not beyond that, because I think that's when they stopped producing the game. But you can always get modern versions of of technology from other game systems and just import it in here, and you're basically just using the game mechanics of this and then applying other items, or you just play within the period that the game covers. Yeah, let me see when the Q manual came out. So this was produced in let's see, 1983. All right, so this was produced in 1983. So a little bit younger than I thought. And this here was also 83. So yeah, so these came out in 1983, and obviously Ian Fleming's original writings, I guess, were 1961. So that's goes back to there. That's another thing that kind of came up during some of our some of my conversations with J. Scott Garibay on my shorts videos, because that's where he saw a lot of these things. And I kind of opened the door to saying that what I think modern gamers should do, and I will freely admit that I have never read a James Bond novel before, but it's certainly something that I would probably want to do to prep myself to running this again. And but that's something that I think that we should really be pushing, especially us in the OSR, because we're already asking people to play older, either variations of games or other or retro clones of older games, that if there is a supporting source material, like Lord of the Rings or Robert E. Howard's writings or Edgar Rice Burroughs or anything, to encourage the players to actually read at least one story of the original works to help kind of put them in that mindset for playing the game. So yeah, that's something that I would definitely encourage people to do, is to read some of the primary sources of the RPGs that they're either looking to run or looking to play, and that will give them, I think, a much better context of the of the essence of the game and the feel of the game, and kind of what you're looking for and how you might role play within that game system. I think in a much better way than if you're just coming into a cold, or if you just watched the movie and then you played it. I don't think that movies are truly going to convey the true essence and the feel of certain RPGs if they're based on both. If you have the option for a novel, grab the novel before you watch the movie. Yes, D100 games, can be fun, and this one here has a different aspect to it that I think stands out, and that's the fact that based on your skill level, overall skill level, you still have that percentage roll within your skill level. So if you have a skill level of a 70, you're still rolling a D100. It's just that everything above 70 is a failure. But a 7 or below is a critical success, right? And it's going to affect, how well you pull off the skill that you're looking to use, or how much damage you do with the particular weapon that you're using. Whereas somebody with a 50 in that same skill, well, their critical is only going to be on a roll of 1 through 5. All right, so it's going to keep on adjusting based on, how skilled you are, and then your critical successes and failures are based on your overall skill level, and then what you roll will grant out various qualities. If you just barely succeed performing a skill, you might only get it as half effective. I mean, so you're still somewhat effective in it, but you're not 100%. And then if you roll in that average band, then you're going to get the average, the intended outcome without improvement. So modern new tabletop gamers should be aware of the beginnings and roots of this hobby. Even us grognards should dig deeper. Absolutely. Just for an archaeological sense understanding and for fun. Yeah, like I said, I have never read an Ian Fleming novel. But if I were going to take this game and run this at Rising Phoenix in April, I'm certainly, since I have a backlog of audio, I would certainly grab at least an audio of one of his novels and listen to that to really put me into the perspective. Now, this is built around the older movies. So if you did just watch the older movies and you watched them all and you've seen them a number of times, this isn't so deep that it's, you won't quite grasp, the full feel of it and the essence of it. Unlike maybe like Lord of the Rings, I mean, you really don't understand Lord of the Rings unless you've actually read the novels. Just watching the movies, as good as you may think they are, they don't quite get to the level of understanding that you do from reading the novels. Game of Thrones is another perfect example of that. The novels are completely different, different feel, or just a level of complexity that are in the novels that don't translate. As much as the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones was excellent, still doesn't convey the same thing. Another movie, translation that I can think of that was like night and day was like Jurassic Park. The first Jurassic Park movie was a good movie, but it didn't come close to comparing to the novel. The novel was so much better than the movie itself, and it was a very good movie. So yeah, like you say, Swirl, modern or new tabletoppers, and even some of us older time people should dig deeper into the actual founding documents of some of these games. to really get a better sense of what the game system was looking to do. We've rewatched recently, in my opinion, the best James Bond ever. The movies were the best also. Yeah, I mean, Sean Connery is probably the pinnacle of James Bond movies. Roger Moore did an excellent job as well. I like most of them. I have not been, I can't think of any. Was it the one James Bond that was in Thunderball? I believe was the one guy. He was only in for just the one movie. And then there was one where David Niven was. I don't think he was James Bond, but he might have been another 00 agent, and it was just not quite there. There was the one guy. What was his name? Grimsby or something like that. That was in just one movie. I think it was Thunderball. But anyway, and the modern James Bonds have been decent as well. But for the most part, I think most people are going to say Sean Connery or Roger Moore as being the best of the bunch. But that could just be nostalgia talking as well. So if anybody wants to jump in and bring up another game system, I will put the invite up there, and you're welcome to jump in, and we can pick up on another game system if you'd like, or just continue with James Bond. Like I said, I will shop for other games to take a look at. Like I certainly know that Bushido is another game that I have, and that's another game that hasn't received a modern reboot. That I think it really could use one. A lot of these games, they, back in the day when I was a teenager, we played these games and we didn't see them as crunchy. But now, when we look at them, in hindsight, I'm looking at it now, I'm like, wow, that this could really have been streamlined, a lot better. And that's that's another aspect of it, where you don't have to change the premise of the games. You just have to change some of the mechanics of the games to modernize the mechanics rather than alter the game itself. And that's all that's needed sometimes, and that will open it up to a whole new generation of players by just changing the mechanics. The idea of, well, we have to modernize, with modern sensibilities, some of these old games. No, I think you do a disservice to the original game when you do that kind of a thing. And and if that's your purpose, then you have no business actually doing it. So there's certain aspects, like I've told people when they mention Greyhawk, and they're like hoping that Wizards of the Coast revives a Greyhawk campaign setting, and I was like, no, I don't. I hope that they never touch it, because they won't just modernize the mechanics of it and some of the things. They will alter the whole the essence of it and the feel of it to match a modern sensibility rather than just modern game mechanics. So one is a positive, one is a negative, in my mind. George Lazenby. All right, yeah. So I was, I just forgot who played only once. Yes, and I'm kind of sure it was Thunderball. Was that the original Casino Royale? David Niven might have been the original Casino Royale. Yeah, it's been a long time. So Dallas television role-playing game. That's a classic. Do you have that one? No, I don't have that one. And that wasn't even a game that I would have played back in the day. I mean, Dallas was like something that, my mom watched. It wasn't like it was daytime, or that was an evening time or prime time soap opera. And yeah, I just don't know how they could have turned that into um, yeah, I don't know how they could have turned that into a role playing game. But no, I don't have that one. I'm not sure if I'm talking to Miguel or Sylvia. Probably Miguel. Yes, Niven was in Casino Royale. Yeah, so and that's like one of those ones I haven't seen in ages. Every once in a while, I mean, they do have here in the United States and on certain channels, cable channels, they'll do marathons of like James Bond marathons, and you can watch like 24 hours of James Bond, and then you'll get all of those movies in there to watch those. So let's see. So yes, I don't have Dallas. So yeah, we're kind of talking on this topic now. So what are some other RPGs that deserve this new edition or upgrade from the 70s or the 80s? We're going to try to focus them there. Initially, I would have said Twilight 2000. However, they just came out. Free League just came out with Twilight 2000, so they've actually addressed that. But prior to that, Twilight 2000 first and second edition were both in the 80s, or maybe second edition was in the early 90s. Like I said, Bushido was definitely one on my list that that I would love to see them give it a modern mechanics, adjustment, keep everything else about the game, in line with its lore and its feel and its, because that to me is like the pinnacle of feudal Japan role-playing games. I'm sure other people will say, oh, the One Ring or something like that, but no, I look at Bushido as that really hit it, on the head, at that time. I just loved it. And I didn't mind so much then the mechanics behind it. I guess while we were playing it, we were learning it. And even if we were doing it slightly wrong, it just came much easier when you were running it and playing it at the time. And then when you come back 30 years later and you start looking at it, it's like, wow. When I created an adventure for Bushido, when I ran it through 3 virtual cons in 2020 and 21, I still ran the game. I still wrote the adventure up with all of the mechanics, but when I was running it, I actually simplified the mechanics as we went. So I did, I kind of gave it like the BX treatment of it while we were running it, so that we didn't get too bogged down with encumbrance and these multiple calculations that you had to make for combat and movement and all of those things. I very much simplified them, and that's really what made me think this game needs a modern reboot, even if it is to make it like a BX version of it. So convert it to a much simpler system like basic D&D, as a core of its system, but then keep um, everything else box standard from, the lore aspect and the skill selections and the classes and everything like that. You know, Basically encumbrance and combat were the only things that needed to be changed. Yeah, I haven't heard of that. Yeah, I haven't heard of it. I mean, you could do like Top Secret, which also has a modern iteration of it, although that's probably about 10 years or so old as well. What is it called? New World Order, right? So, and that's probably been around for a couple of years at least. TSR2, put that out. And yeah, there are modern spy games, I'm sure. I've never heard of Classified, so I'll have to take a look at that. When the opportunity comes, I'll see if it is out there. But as an OSR revivalist, like I just like playing the original games. I think that it brings something to the table, I think, when you actually break out the original books and you sit down in front of the players and like, this is what we're going to play today, and I'm not using reprints. I'm not using, print on demand of anything or PDF copies that I printed out myself. I like to use the original books. When I run my AD&D game, I do the same thing. I use my original books. When I ran D&D, basic original books. If I do bring this to a convention, I'm going to bring the books and, run it that way and create my own adventure for it. But just go there and say, hey, I need, one or two players or possibly three players, and one's going to be the lead and the other two are going to be the supports, and run through the scenario that way. So let's see. So some of the other things, if you look through like Avalon Hill, which was a major developer of, both tabletop games and war games and then also role-playing games. I mean, these are the ones that come under their banner. So you had RuneQuest that was theirs. So you had James Bond that was theirs. I'm just looking through their catalog from back then. Fantasy and science fiction games. Alpha Omega, Amoeba Wars. I remember hearing that. Down with the King, Dragon Hunt, Dune. So they had a Dune, Freedom in the Galaxy, The Legend of Robin Hood, Magic Realm, Starship Troopers, Titan, UFO, Witchcraft Kit, Wizard's Quest. Wizard's Quest I actually have down there. I love that game. I'll do a whole video just on that game at some point. That's a board game. B-17, Queen of the Skies, which is Avalon Hill now. So these are coming under Avalon Hill. Bull Run, Panzerkrieg, Tactics, 25th Anniversary, Upfront. And they go on and on and on. They have tons and tons of war strategy and war games. Microcomputer games. Wow, this is a real... blast. Cassette packages printed with a tint. So video games on cassette. What would they be? All right, so this is like console games. IBM version of Voyager requires IBM color graphics adapter. Voyager on a TRS-80 color requires extended basic. All arcade games use graphics and sound. Amazing looking at this thing. I'm just looking through the catalog here, and it's funny what they're saying that they actually need. So here's the computers. The TRS-80, the Apple IIe, CBM, PET 64. All right. Commodore 64, Atari 800, the TRS-80 Color, VIC-20, TI, I guess it's Texas Instruments 99, Torex Sinclair, Timex Sinclair. I didn't know Timex made a computer. Atari 800. That's amazing. It was only Atari 800, back in 1983. So anyway, let's see what else comments we have here. So I've been looking for Hornmaster. I have quite a bit of stuff. Now they still put stuff out. They still print Hornmaster. So you can still get all of that stuff. I've never checked. Let's see if we have James Bond 007 um, on drive-through. I'll be curious to see if we have it on drive-through. Let's see if we have it on drive-through. My computer's running a little slow. It's going really slow. Probably straining, and I'm going to probably end up screwing up my live stream. So, yeah, it's still scrolling. I'm not going to mess with it there. So anyway, I'll take a look at it and see it later on. So we are coming up on an hour. So I'm going to probably wrap this up in a few more minutes because I think we've pretty much talked out James Bond right now. So my intentions are actually to dig a little bit deeper into this game and run like a one shot of James Bond. I'll be looking for, back in the day we used to run it with just a GM and one player, and I'll see what I can put together as a 2 or 3 hour one shot, and then run that possibly at a game convention coming up. So that would be a lot of fun. I think that people would be like, oh my gosh, I've haven't seen this game run in ages, and for it to be at a con, I think that it would actually go over very, very well. So until recently, I've been, yeah. Oh, it stopped. I guess Hornquest stopped doing recently. Hey, Deco Games. My retirement is pretty good. I mean, I'm finally settled in, and I still work my second job that I had. That is only 3 days a week now, so I work technically 10 hours a week. I've cut my commute in cut my commute down by a good amount. So so that's really cool. And yeah, it's giving me virtually all of my Tuesdays and all day Thursday for just gaming and this kind of stuff here, and doing YouTubing, and then every once in a while running errands and stuff like that. But for the most part, and my second job that I do isn't until 3 o'clock. So from 3 to 6 o'clock, or 3 to 7 o'clock on Mondays. So having every morning, pretty much to myself gives me so much time to prepare for the games that I'm running, or throw a quick video out there as well, or watch other videos and stuff like that. So it's it's been treating me very, very well. I'm glad to have done it. Yes, Swirl, you will be first on my list. All right. So yeah, once I start digging into it and I take a look at it and everything, I will. I'll see if I can find some resources online. I'm sure that you could probably find a character sheet online, hopefully for free. If not, I will scan one because I have a whole bunch of them, and I'll scan one and send it to you so that you have it. And absolutely, I will do a one shot, and maybe we can even do it a few times so that you can keep on reoccurring. Are you coming to GaryCon? No. I'm still going to keep myself local because traveling to those are just so expensive, and I was really looking at Dave Con, and the flight to Dave Con, even though the airfare is cheaper to go to Indianapolis, it was or just the outskirts of Indianapolis, whatever it is, and it was the whole thing was still going to cost me about $1,200, and that's not including food for 4 days. That's not including buying anything there. And to go to a big con like that, that's not a local con, is gonna push any of them up to around like $1,200 to $1,400 for 4 days, and I just can't see it. Not when, like I said, I can go to Rising Phoenix and Massachusetts, drive there. It only takes 3 hours to drive there. And even if I stay overnight for 2 of the 3 nights, you know, um, I would, it would only cost me like $400 just to go, and then or whatever the tickets are, but they're usually kind of cheap for those if I'm going for 2 or 3 days. And the whole thing, I think I factored it out. It would cost me like 500. And then if I purchase anything, let's say I bought up to $200 worth of stuff while I was there, including food or whatever, it's like 700 as opposed to 1,400. It's just half the cost. So I'm going to kind of limit myself to local things of the New York area within 3 hour driving distance or so. And then, in cheaper hotel stays. And I'm actually thinking about looking to organize a small con, because there aren't that many in New York, and I know that there are several other individuals within the hobby and within my network that might actually be willing to help organize such a thing. At least I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey, why don't we do this, a small con like this, and do it in a New York area that's easier for all of us to get to, and we'll keep it really small, 100 people or less, and do like a small con like that, very similar to what we just did with ShireCon. I went to ShireCon in Connecticut here, and it's 45 minutes away, and it was awesome experience. About 92 people, I believe, 1 day con, and really, really great experience. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something that I would look to organize, and that wouldn't be until the latter part of 2023, or more than likely 2024, unless I can piece together something really, really quickly. And and see. I was kind of shopping around for prices, and seeing various places. Yeah, you have to make sure that there's a place like either a bed and breakfast or like a hotel, a half a decent hotel, um, that that would either have the room space to go into, and then you can run the con there, or one that's close enough to another space that would go. I'm also looking. We just rebuilt our public library here in my town. It's huge, and I know they have conference rooms that you can do for an hour or two. And I want to look into how much would it cost to actually book it for a day, and that might be another possibility that I'll look into as well. There's just not as many hotels in my town. There's a motel, but it's skeezy. So, but we're not far from the city of Poughkeepsie, New York, which is a fairly large city, and there's tons of hotels up and down that stretch of commercial highway that's on. So anyway, let's get back to See, so yeah, unfortunately, Gary Con is out of the question. Same thing with like a Game Hole or Dave Con. Um, I mean, someday I want to get to Adventure Con just to help support them. It's just Wisconsin is so hard. It's really out of my driving range. You know, it's like a 15-hour drive, and airfare right now is a little on the crazy side. So, but yeah, I appreciate that. If we put one together, you know, I'd definitely love to have you show up and you know, run some games and stuff. So, or if you're going to go to any of those other cons, like I said, I'm definitely going to Rising Phoenix in April. That's in Massachusetts, I believe, Marlborough, Massachusetts. So it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes from me or something like that. So definitely drivable. So, and we'll get back to our banners. So yeah, so my featured RPG for today and this little chat is James Bond 007 by Victory Games. And like I said, you can jump there on eBay and find this thing. It's certainly it's certainly affordable. I think you can get the box set for under 40. You can get the combined box set with the main rule book and the Q manual, which is the only other supplement to the game system, for combined probably $50. And then the adventures, they run for about $20 a piece. And now those adventure things, they come in a hard box, and they come with all kinds of handouts, you know, photographs, and you know, the adventure booklet inside. They all have a different location than what you have here, you know, including like all of the like the CIA background of, you know, those locations and everything, NPCs, additional equipment and everything. So those adventure modules that come with James Bond 007, you know, those are value packed for what you're paying for. It's amazing how much you actually get in them, as far as handouts and all of those things there. So they're top notch, and they're really, really well done. Very, very close mirrors of the movies that they were created to you know, to emulate. You know, so if you get From Russia with Love, you're going to have all the locations, the equipment, the characters. You know, the artwork looks exactly like the actual actors and actresses that, you know, that played those roles. I mean, just phenomenal, phenomenal work that they put into creating or recreating each of those movies in RPG form. So it is really, really well done. And like I said, you can create your own adventures using just the, you know, just the basic game, and then you can enhance them even further with the Q manual and just, you know, add a lot, and then a little bit of research. You can get all of that information. Like I said, you can go to the CIA website and pull up demographic, location, you know, information, along with a breakdown of the government type and all kinds of stuff, economic situations there and everything. So really, 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 really easy to run a campaign for James Bond 007. So, all right. Well, thank everybody. I thank everybody for popping in. For those of you that left your comments, you know, it's good to see you all, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any suggestions of any games, like I said, I'll probably do one of these for Bushido and take a look at it. Maybe we can talk a little bit about what we would like to see changes if anybody were to modernize that game system, what it would look like. And you know, and I'll probably have an update on the channel coming up fairly soon as well. I know my channel is like one subscriber away from 2,300. So if any of you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I think most of you that are, in my comments section are subscribers anyway. But, spread the word out there. And, once I get to 2,500, I'll probably do another giveaway and move some of the extra things that I have on my shelf that, I no longer have the room for. And like I said, I have some duplicates of books that I bought that, I wasn't, didn't know I have it. Like I have two Star Wars books. I think the Empire books. I have two of those for West End Games books, because one I bought separately, and then I bought a bundle that was cheaper, than buying another book, and that book came with the bundle. So I ended up getting two of the same thing. So I'll definitely look to do a giveaway at 2,500 subscribers. So and like I said, I'm at 2,300 now. That should happen. Hopefully that happens around the new year. That'll be awesome. That way I can start off the new year with 2,500 and do a really quick giveaway during the month of January to celebrate that. So again, thanks for joining. Everybody have a great afternoon. And even after the video goes up, you can always leave your comments in there. If there's any other game that you want me to take a look at, I'd gladly take a look at it if I own it. Or if it's super cheap, I'll pick one up on eBay or the internet or wherever I can find it, and do a quick review and maybe one of these highlights or features like this episode. So I still have the CNC core set waiting for you. Yep, I have the core set. So I will. If you're going to run a game, I would love to play. So if you're running a game, I would love to play. That's the one thing I don't do right now, is I'm not a player in anyone's game. I'm just DMing or GMing everything that I do for games right now. I'd love to jump in and play. So yeah, if you're going to run one, I'll definitely look to jump in on that. All right, everyone, have a great afternoon. Take care.